It's New York Comic Con 2025. I'm going to take you on a full tour of the con. Hey, it's Juliet, though I feel like I should be introducing myself as Bucky Barnes at New York Comic Con, and I want to take you on a tour of what it was like to be here over the weekend. So I'm going to lead you through absolutely everything. We're going to do a little dabbling in panels. I'm going to show you the show floor highlights. We'll go down to Cosplay Central, Artist Alley too. It's going to be a jam-packed tour of the con. Luckily, I've got my bionic arm. Let's get to it. The show floor here at New York Comic Con is insane. I mean, I think it's the only one that can even come close to rivaling the San Diego Comic Con floor. And when I tell you that they do things a little bit bigger here at New York Comic Con, you're gonna see when I show you around. So I'm gonna show you some of my favorite spots I found over the course of the weekend. See what I mean about them doing it bigger here in New York?
Why I did not pick.
You know how much I love spirit jerseys. I have too many in my collection, and there are some amazing new ones that just dropped here at Comic Con. This one I already bought yesterday. Great front, better back. The Lord of the Rings spirit jerseys, yeah, I need these in my life. Look. The ring wraiths. They have a spirit jersey. If every inch of your home is not yet decorated in nerd, an opportunity, may I suggest the bathroom. These anime rugs are incredibly kawaii. Now your Labubu can go everywhere you go. Snorlax is a rug that weirdly just makes sense. Artist Alley isn't the only place to find cool art. I'm kind of obsessed with like a million things here. If you miss Muppets 3D, may I present? Actually, I've got one better for you. It's perfect. The number of discrete fandoms that all work so well in a pennant, like look at this Powerline tour. The Loungefly booth is a Comic-Con staple, and the exclusives this year are good. I never would have expected him to get his own bag, but I love him. Spider-Man is tempting my wallet too. Listen, normally I think the generic con merch is kind of whatever, but the designs for this year's New York Comic Con, the shirts are so good, I actually need one. The Hasbro booth is always cool, but Be Still My Heart, Tron figures. They forgot to include the semi-questionable CGI of Jeff Bridges though. About some of the bigger booths like the Marvel is there's things going on the entire weekend. There's speakers here, there's signings. The freebies at the Marvel booth this year have been good. This is a booth that I spent way too much money at yesterday. Dave's Deep Fried Doodle. The like art gives me Cartoon Network meets Disney. Look at all the Pixar characters. I've always wanted to work for Stark Industries, and this might need to be in my office. That's so cool. Look, I love that he says see you at the expo. Yes, this is a Comic-Con where there actually are comics, and there are a lot of them. Yeah, but everywhere. When they have them in the fancy cases. That's how you know you can't afford them. Cosplay talent And New York Comic Con is, well, it's insane this year. There are so many good ones. I can't wait to show you a couple of my favorites.
Cosplay is such an incredibly important and special part of every convention, and I know that there were a couple of decisions made at New York Comic Con this year that definitely had some folks talking. I'll get into those a little bit later in the video. Now, one other note for you, normally I like to shoot some of my cosplays around the con and on the show floor. Logistically, New York, it was just too busy this year, and I always prioritize not trying to be disruptive or invasive when I'm shooting. So what you are going to see is a lot of footage shot in the main hall, but luckily it shouldn't stop you from enjoying or appreciating all the beautiful New York Comic Con cosplayers. Here's my ode to them.
When you light up a room, light up a room, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And I just stare in your eyes, stare in your eyes, and I just stare in your eyes, stare in your eyes. Can you take me higher, higher, higher? 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 When you're all over my mind, all in my mind, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And I just stare in your eyes, stare in your eyes, and I just stare in your eyes.
That's a wrap on today. So much more to show you though, but I need to transform into another hero to do it. Be right back. And back at it for day 2, feeling a little more marvelous. Let's go check out some panels. New York Comic Con was a great year for panels. I didn't get to see everyone that I wanted to. Ugh, my biggest disappointment. I was trying to do standby for the Marvel panel, which was where, of course, Paul Bettany made his surprise appearance. They announced Vision Quest. They showed off the new teaser for Wonder Man.
Wonder Man being this really interesting meta story, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. And then they also talked about Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Sadly for me, the standby line for this panel was capped more than an hour in advance, so this is a really good heads up. If you're hoping to do a big panel without reservations on a Saturday, the lines can be long, specifically on the weekends. Other big news, Mortal Kombat 3 was announced, which is pretty crazy given that we're still kind of a ways away from Mortal Kombat 2 coming out, but you know, good news. And even though I didn't manage to catch either of those panels in person, it wasn't all doom and gloom for me.
I did catch some incredible panels though. I got to see Brendan Fraser and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Elizabeth Hurley on the Breaking Bear panel, which is this wild cartoon show. It is like extremely mature, extremely graphic, but there was the most charismatic panel.
Well, I think we've always known a lot of actors who've come to these, and I've always actually been jealous that I've never been invited, because this is, I mean, it's just heaven. I've seen the most amazing people outside.
I didn't bother to read the book, well, I didn't.
Really funny panel, great to see these stars in person, and this show is free if you want to catch it on Tubi.
Another big panel highlight for me was getting to see Chris Pratt, who is one of my all-time crushes, one of my loves. He's got a new movie coming out in, I think it's February of next year, called Mercy.
From a murder he doesn't know whether or not he committed. He's not proud of the man he has been or become, and I'm on trial, and so there were layers there.
It's a very serious role for Chris Pratt. He's on trial with this AI judge. It's like a system that he apparently programmed, which Chris Pratt as a programmer, I'm not sure I believe, but the movie actually, it looks pretty good. About to happen right behind me, one of my all-time favorite IPs is the Matrix panel. We'll try to catch a little bit of that today.
Does it feel like part of your daily or at least weekly life to this day to some degree?
Well, it certainly changed our lives. I mean, yeah, it's every day, anytime, you know, most people, you know, for me anyway, it's like, I think that Morpheus is probably the character I'll be best remembered for.
Down on the main stage, I got to learn about some upcoming video game releases on the Capcom Presents panel. So the new Resident Evil, that looks so good. That game's coming out next year too. I cannot wait to play that, and got a sneak peek at a few other games too.
The eSyn, for example, I think that's the number one thing that comes to my mind. I think about Amusha as a franchise, the eSyn counters.
And dare I say that I do feel like the main stage really stepped it up this year. I mean, folks are starting to say maybe New York Comic Con, it's coming up to rival some of the San Diego Comic Con panels. The one thing that I love about the main stage here, it's so much easier to get into than it is in Hall H in San Diego. I know I keep comparing New York and San Diego. Maybe we should just let them coexist. But people really are saying that New York is kind of on the come up for this year, mainly I think because Marvel did more at New York Comic Con this year than they did at San Diego. I mean, some big reveals here. And the main stage was going off. There was Sigourney Weaver talking about the Alien franchise, the 20th anniversary of Airbender. Happening right now behind me is the Chainsaw Man panel. You can see there's a pretty big line for that one. I think New York Comic Con, I'd still like to see them step up their panel game, but overall, 2025 was a killer year for panels. All right, so we've toured the incredible show floor. We've talked about all the awesome panels that have been happening over the course of the weekend. And then, of course, we showed off some cosplay. Now I think it's time to hit the wallet again, so let's go check out Artist Alley. And I'm gonna show you some of my favorite booths. So Artist Alley really has been wild this year. Of course, it's always huge. It's one of the things that I love about New York Comic Con. There's so many incredible comic artists, but definitely I would say since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, man, the crowds have been crowding here, but there is some great stuff to see. One of my favorites of the weekend, Malia Ewert's booth. The art here is poppin'. Look at this romantic sandworm. All right, a little more romantic. Bat signal keeps calling to me this entire convention. BB, we're rolling out of here together. I'm gonna take BB. Yeah, you got it. The Life of Mr. Pumpkin booth here has to be the coziest booth I've seen on the entire show floor. It literally makes me want to redecorate my entire office for fall, just after this cute little pumpkin guy and ghost. Now all I want is a ghost to be serving me ramen somewhere. The K-pop Demon Hunters fandom art has officially arrived this con. We're about to enter the section where the comic book giants inhabit. Unquestionably, the longest line of the entire weekend has been here for Scott Snyder. I mean, I'm talking about reservations only. You had to get here like at 10 a.m. This is some rope drop Disney stuff. But the art, the comic books, and chef's kiss. Look at my girl Jinx, causing trouble. So this is the booth I actually bought from yesterday, and I posted it already on TikTok, and people were going crazy for this. The Art Deco style of the art here is like just gorgeous. There's Star Wars pieces, there's tons of different fandoms. The Batman one was the one that took my heart though. Rogers the Musical lives on. Never forget. One of the reasons I love coming to cons is learning about new things I didn't know exist. So this author, I did know, Timothy Zahn, but there's a new Thrawn Pico books, which are called Descendancy, and they're on my TBR list now. More mandatory Star Wars reading. That's just scratching the surface on Artist Alley here. I truly will say, I think this is my favorite part of New York Comic Con. The artists, the talent here, it's top notch. I really think this is probably the best Artist Alley I've been into this whole year. A lot of things got a big upgrade this year. Two things, well, I'll say I miss the cosplay meetups being down here. We need to bring the stairs back. That's just like strictly an L for cosplay. And the next area I'm about to show you. I know we're talking best of New York Comic Con. I have to include Cosplay Central because this has always been one of my favorite parts of New York Comic Con. This year things have, well, they've changed.
And yeah, well, honestly, let's just not beat around the bush. Cosplay Central was moved downstairs this year. It used to be up in the River Pavilion. The space was a lot harder to find. It was much more difficult for the area to get foot traffic. And yeah, it was definitely tinier. But that being said, there were still some great things to explore. So let's go check them out.
Mask Dad did a bunch of incredible workshops throughout New York Comic Con. This is really cool. If you want to register for next year, you can build stuff with basically a master. And also, I love this booth because you can come in person and buy cosplay stuff, which, like, that's not easy to do. Paladins of Cosplay are here, and this just always warms my heart because they're here to repair your cosplay in case it falls apart over the course of the weekend. Thankfully, I got through the whole weekend without anything falling apart. Yeah, so sadly, Cosplay Central is kind of like in the basement this year, and it's a lot smaller. I'm hoping for next year we see Cosplay Central back to its true former glory. Well, that's a wrap on New York Comic Con 2025. If you want to come on my next fandom adventure, I've got an exciting one planned. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. We'll be at more expos. We'll be trotting around the globe. I'll see you then. And remember, fandom is for any age.